Sean, when you're saying how they're in classes with the apes, the humans are teaching the apes, yet they're slaves to them, and it's this weird. I'm going to go to the Phantom Menace, which drives me nuts with Anakin being a slave, and he's never once treated as a slave. He's simply, hey, yippee, shows up and does work.
I'm making a pod racer. Are you an angel?
The idea of slavery means that you are put into a situation of which you have no recourse, you have no choice, none of it. You're forced to do things that are not yours, that you want. And in that film, we should have seen Anakin being forced to do things that he didn't want to do, instead of just showing up and selling parts in a electronic shop. We should see the humans here in the same way. Yes, we see them working, and they're the ones repairing the wagon and whatnot. We should see more of that. If you want it to work, I like this weird dichotomy of the apes, the humans teaching the apes, but yet being indebted to. Instead of slavery, I think what I want to say is, wouldn't it be as equally interesting to see the beginnings of that fracture, and the apes constantly saying to the humans, you see what your civilization has brought us to. It's our turn to lead now. And if that case, and then you can see how that would probably further separate down the line. But instead, it's this weird, you're slaves, but you're not slaves, and we say it, and you're a command, you command us, and blah, blah, blah. It's just,
we're equals, but we're not.
Right.
Was the disaster one where the apes created this city and the humans fled to it for safety? Was it a situation where they fled together and the structure happened at the same time? I mean, I don't understand why this
Well, we don't know yet.
I know.
We don't know what has happened between the two movies.
We know that there's been a reversal of situations where humans are somewhat subservient to apes. We just don't know the extent of that or how that came about.
And I wanted to throw out to those people listening that probably do love this film. I love this too. I watched this countless times as a kid. It's, I don't want to take away from that, but when you look at how and why this works, I think we as the viewers, the lovers of Planet of the Apes, are bringing so much to this story ourselves that we're interjecting that we've decided works. That instead, when you look at this minute at a time, you're kind of like, well, once again, here we are with these situations that don't entirely make sense. I wish that now I go back to the lawgiver at the first again. Why? I realize they had a limited budget, but good Lord, give me an Airflex camera that I can go out with for one day, and I'll shoot riot footage, and I'll shoot the end of the world footage. That I think that could have been something at the first, that the lawgiver talked about the chaos that man brought.
No, they could have just bought stock footage for that.
They probably could have too. They could have bought anything like that, fires and people throwing things, and then interjected a few shots of people in ape costumes fleeing, whatever you could have been. That could have been so powerful to say man brought the end and ape tried to rise above it, but still there were struggles. And I think then you could have told the story of Caesar having ape and human parents and trying to bridge that gap. There's a huge missed opportunity with that alone.
Yeah. And then we get reintroduced to Lisa in an awkward way again. So has McDonald never met? I mean, has he not seen her since the nuclear war? Is this not the McDonald that we think it is? Because why would he say, you remember Lisa? I mean, if I haven't been to your house in a while, Todd, you still wouldn't go, you remember Shelley?
Oh, I introduce you every time. Don't you remember that? Are you that forgetful alone that you don't? This is my wife, Shelley. I've only been married to her for close to 30 years, and you've known her for pretty much that whole time. But this is Shelley.
You remember her? We're also making a leap for people who saw the prior movie where she uttered a word.
Yes,
and that was it. Yeah,
and now she's full on just talking. I mean, we talked about the fact that, we've got Virgil and Aldo and all these other apes that have suddenly just had this giant evolutionary leap.
Yeah.
But now we're putting a context of this is a character we actually know from the prior movie who didn't have like a generational jump. We're putting her in the context of Caesar living a normal ape life and Lisa having that happen in her lifetime. I mean, there's a fantasy with Virgil and with Aldo that we could think that they're the next generation, not the same generation. But Lisa defines it as these are the same. These are the exact same generations that have now had this leap.
Which the new movies will explain that for you, how that works.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, don't tell me.
Okay, so we know when you remember Lisa. That's to the audience. That is 100%
Yes,
going.
of
By
course.
the way, you remember Lisa from the previous film. Now, if I don't need you to say, "Do you remember?" If he'd simply said Lisa, I'd go,
yeah, that's all he has
enough.
to say.
I'll remember that. I'll remember these kind of things. But these are such a different type of film and a different type of era of filmmaking that I think that they probably felt that blanket need to always explain to us, in case we've not seen it or in case we only saw it in the film and in the theaters once.
Yeah. Or hadn't seen it all for some reason. You're jumping into the fifth movie blind.
I would be interested. I wish we could find some kind of film historian who might know something about franchise effects and how they worked, because, when you watch Empire Strikes Back, you don't meet Luke Skywalker and have them go, "Hello, Mr. Skywalker." You don't have that. And when Han is riding on the Tauntaun, it's like, "Han, old buddy." We know who that is he's talking to, and we trust the audience to know. I'm just curious if there was any kind of gap in this, or if this is simply diminishing budgets, diminishing schedules, get it out, crank it. Anyway. My fascination with that will never stop, and if I ever find a film historian who knows anything about franchises, we'll have that person on. But anyway,
I'm not the only one that giggled like a little schoolgirl when they said, "Now we just chew nuts."
No, Sean, that line was especially made for you.
That is just you.
So we're approaching the end of the time we have for this episode, and I really want to make sure we get to one thing that Caesar says, which is, when you grow to know and trust a person, you like them. Is that true?
Well, if you trust them, I mean, if you know somebody and you don't trust them, you won't like them necessarily. But if you trust somebody, you're more inclined to like them than not.
Maybe you're more inclined, but I can also think of people that I'm like, okay, you're pretty trustworthy, but you're not somebody I want to hang around. So I think it's a little bit of a simplistic view to think, just because I know and trust them, that I like them.
Well, maybe that's just the ape perspective. They've never had a life where they know somebody and trust them and don't like them.
Maybe.
I thought the use of the word person was a little odd. Like person.
Instead of an ape?
Instead of an ape, or I believe that you truly turn to a person, you can't help but like, it sounded like they were, I don't know, I didn't get the point of this. When we begin to trust you, we can loosen your shackles. We can. But
they've also shown us no reason for them to not trust the humans again.
Right. They put them in charge of they're teaching their kids. They're teaching their children.
Right. And we've not seen that moment. It's implied. We know that their society fell apart and left them in the mess they're in, but we've not seen it. So it's, I found that very odd too, just to not really show me why that's fallen apart, but to imply it. All right. Has anyone got anything else? Minute 17 going.
That's it for me.
Gone.
No.
All right. Oh, I just really noticed that behind Richard we have Caesar and McDonald, and you just look like you're the third person in that sandwich. I hate to say it.
We're having a Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I'm the Oreo.
You are the Oreo.
I'm the Oreo.
I don't know if Richard can recover from that. Anyway, for Richard, who is flummoxed at this point, and Sean, I am Todd. Everyone have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. I'm going to go eat the butt of a rag doll or whatever that is.